Hi, I'm Gayla. After 20 years of climbing the corporate ladder, I took the leap and started my own business to pursue my dream of creating a work-from-anywhere lifestyle. Having the freedom to work from practically anywhere is such a cool feeling. You're in the right place if you're looking for ideas and inspiration to start and grow your own online business. Every week in this podcast, you'll receive practical ideas, hints, tips, and tricks to help you grow your online business where you can leverage your time and you can accomplish more. You too can experience wonderful adventure and freedom as you live life on your own terms. Hi there, and welcome to the Gayla Scrivener Show. I am so glad you're here because today is it. Yes, today is the 100th podcast episode, and I'm thinking it's kind of a big deal. Well, I didn't realize how much of a big deal it was until a few weeks ago. It wasn't until I was in a coaching call with my mentor, Mike Kim, when somehow, through the conversation, it was revealed that I was on episode 90-something. And Mike was like, whoa, stop right there. That's quite an accomplishment. He really made me see how big of a deal it was because he told me that on average, 84% of podcasters don't get past episode 10. 10! Wow. You know, Mike really framed it in a way where I really should take a moment and appreciate the accomplishment. And don't shrug it off in the moment, but really take a moment, appreciate, and celebrate. I don't know if you're like me that sometimes I just press on and I don't focus on all the things that I have accomplished per se. I just kind of like, yeah, that's not a big deal. But instead my focus is toward good intentions on starting this thing. And I've started it, but I haven't completed it. So then I feel terrible because I haven't completed it or it hasn't been as successful as I had imagined. Focusing on what we've already done and have gotten the momentum is super important. And at least I recognize in other folks their accomplishment, and I really love to encourage them to pause for a moment and recognize and feel good about their hard work that have gotten them where they are today so that they can even grow more in the future. I guess I'll just swallow my own medicine today and just be excited. And we've had a little contest on social media about sharing this podcast. And when you share and drop me a direct message that you've shared the episode, you're in a drawing to win some cool things. And that winner is going to be announced on February 28th. Pretty cool. Recognizing our accomplishments, no matter how small, sure does help when things get hard and we just want to give up. Now, let me tell you, I certainly wanted to give up plenty of times in big things and in small ways. And it is such an easier path not to do this podcast. That is for sure. I'm not going to lie. In the grand scheme of things, will the world stop if I don't produce this podcast? No, certainly not. It's not going to stop. But to be completely honest, I procrastinated in recording this very episode. Yeah, I found myself thinking I was inspired and I knew exactly what I wanted to say. Then when it came right down to it, every time I tried to start recording, my mind became blank. And so what did I do? I procrastinated. I moved on to doing other things. So today, being down to the wire on recording this 100th episode, my message is this. Now, you know that I run a virtual assistant company, and our primary function is helping our clients with content marketing tasks. And we do a lot of things to keep their processes going and staying consistent. And when I first started my virtual assistant business 7 years ago, what I was thinking at the time that my ideal client would be someone who needed things done for just a few hours a week. It's very cost effective to delegate tasks and not hire somebody full or part-time and have to deal with a place for them to sit, the equipment, the insurance, the taxes. But hiring an independent contractor for just a few hours a week that specializes in a certain niche, that's very cost effective. And at first, I freelanced. I was gaining enough clients to work, behind the scenes for them. At first, this was, I wouldn't call it my tagline because you hear this all the time, but what I would express to others is do what you love and delegate the rest. That should be the perfect scenario of what I should be saying to other small business owners, to go ahead and do just the things that you love and then delegate everything else. But you know what I have found over the years, and this is what my message is today in my 100th episode. The phrase, do what you love and delegate the rest, is a myth. Yes, a myth. The reason why I know this to be true is because sometimes in running a business, in life in general, we have to do some things that we don't necessarily love to do because it's either good for us or we know that it would make a difference. It will help us grow because, growing and doing new things isn't necessarily comfortable. And I thought when I was first starting, saying that phrase, do what you love and delegate the rest, would bring me my ideal client. But things didn't go exactly how I imagined. First, I needed to find these ideal clients, but you see, I didn't know what I was doing back then. I came from the corporate world, and I jumped into entrepreneurship with both feet. Pretty much. One day, I had a corporate salary. The next day, nothing. Nada. I was an entrepreneur without a lick of experience about how to be an entrepreneur. But that was perfectly okay. It was time to figure things out. So I rolled up my sleeves, and that's what I did. My whole path that I chose for myself kind of revolved around this concept. Do what you love and delegate the rest. Now, after all, aren't entrepreneurs supposed to delegate the tasks so that they can grow their business? Yeah. But when I had my message, do what you love and delegate the rest, it made sense that should be my message as a startup virtual assistant business. It would seem natural that I would gain my perfect clients, but I didn't. It really didn't work out that way. What happened? I didn't always hire the right clients. Now, don't get me wrong. During that time, I have been very, very fortunate in gaining some spectacular clients despite my poor marketing efforts, especially at the very beginning on coming across on what I could help them with. I had gained some spectacular clients whom I work to this very day, 7 years later. So I'm very appreciative of that. But there were many clients that were tough to work with. And in hindsight, I recognize that they simply weren't ready to delegate yet. I found myself shifting my role into receiving tasks from a client and being brought into their systems that they already have, to helping clients create systems, to create strategies, using my expertise that I had learned over my 20 years of my corporate life, but then also my new expertise in working in content marketing each and every day, in creating processes like that. Also, through my own experience in growing my own business and helping my clients, I came to realize that doing what you love and delegating the rest is truly a myth. It really is. When I think of the word love is associated with other words like comfort or good, positive. It's kind of like you might get the first impression of it's all going to be unicorns and rainbows. And love is supposed to be pleasant. So doing what you love suggests that you only do things that you're comfortable with. and that you find joy in doing. And then you delegate all the other crap that you don't like doing and you don't find joy with. Well, that simply doesn't work. There are times that you must do things that you don't necessarily love. You must do things that aren't comfortable. Do things that are just plain hard. And if we didn't, then we'd always be stuck where we have always been. We'd have no growth. We wouldn't get better. I mean, just things like no one else can exercise for us. No one else can make our bodies feel better if we don't move them. I can't tell you how much I do not love structured exercise, but the act and the motion of like moving my body makes me feel better in the long run. And I do things that I don't necessarily love, but I do it anyway because it's what I must do. There are things that I love to do, but I delegate because it opens up an opportunity for another person, and it opens up opportunity for me too, because what I delegate is leaving me room in my schedule to do things that will stretch my potential. Okay, for example, I really would prefer not to deal with anything that has to do with QuickBooks, financials, taxes, bookkeeping. I know the general concepts. I know how to do that stuff. Oh, and insurance. Insurance is another subject that, when mentioned, it's like nails on a chalkboard for me, and it just makes me cringe to even have to deal with it. And I don't know, maybe that's my background in working with medical insurance for 20 years. I don't know, but I know a lot about it, but I don't necessarily love it. There are several routine tasks within the general financial category that's done in our company and in my personal life that I do delegate, but there are certainly higher level tasks that I must contend with. And I don't like it because I would rather spend my time doing something that I do find joy with. But they are the very tasks that I should not delegate. They are the subjects that I must contend with for the growth of my business. I just have to deal with it, even if I don't want to, because when I ignore it, it gets so much worse. But then there are things that I love to do. Yes, I love, but I delegate it anyway. One of the things that I miss doing, and just miss doing more than anything, is a lot of the design work that I used to do, but I don't do as much anymore. I love creating the images. I love using Canva. I love website development and Photoshop and formatting things and putting in the logo and coordinating colors and, just making things look nice, neat, orderly, and pretty. I shouldn't do that all the time, and I don't, because that won't leave me any room to do any of the other tasks that are necessary as a business owner in growing a successful business. I must spend time working out processes and systems and thinking long term to make things easier and more efficient in the long run. When systems are in place, it makes it easier to identify the little slices or the little things that others can do and what pieces of the system that only I can do. I come back to this. Do what you love, delegate the rest. It's a myth. What we're really doing when we delegate is leveraging our time so that we may accomplish more. We can focus on working on our business instead of working in our business. Now, have you ever read the entrepreneurial myth or the E-myth? Because there is a story in there that talks about, I want to say it's a bakery, and the lady in there is the owner of the business, and she's doing all the baking. She's making all the cookies and everything, and she's just sinking because she is not hiring the right people to bake the cookies to her specifications so that she can do the other stuff in building the business. No one else can be building the business except the owner. Don't delegate that part of it. I see a lot of people struggle in that. And sometimes I've struggled. I've delegated some of the wrong tasks before. Now let's take producing this podcast for an example. Not every single part of the process do I love. I'll be honest with you. There are some items in the process that I dearly love and I would love to do and I find fun, but I delegate those. Sometimes I don't necessarily love recording an episode. No. Sometimes I find it hard to come up with things of what to say. And sometimes I just buckle down and schedule an entire day of recording. Sometimes that's very painful. And it's not out of the love of recording. No, I hate even hearing the sound of my voice because it's just weird to me. I know I'm not alone in that. A lot of people don't like to hear their own voice, but it's a job that only I can do. And if I buckle down and one day can record 2, 3, or even 4 episodes, that's a fantastic day, let me tell you. I am completely drained. In theory, it should only take, 2 to 4 hours to record, but there's an outline that needs to be made, some form of a script. What am I going to say? And then I mess up. And then there's the dogs. The conditions are not always ideal. I had to get over myself at first because I live in a very small space. I live in an RV, 38-foot RV, in fact. And my husband Robert and I are always together. Our office, we're almost shoulder to shoulder. And to record these episodes, I would much rather be alone. And I have been able to seclude myself in our bedroom and put a little curtain and stuff. But I know he can hear me, and that just kind of freaks me out. I just don't want him to hear me. But I had to get over myself because conditions aren't always ideal, but I still need to get the job done. Right now, you might hear my dog Lucy whining in the background. I fed her a little bit before recording this episode, but she's, for some reason, just acting a little crazy. I don't know. She wants my attention, and I still need to record this. I'm not exactly loving the recording conditions, but I press on. Now, it's my show. I can't delegate the recording part out. As much as I would love to, I just can't. It's my message. It's my voice. If I were to delegate it out, well, then it wouldn't be my show, would it? So that particular part, no one else can do. Now, Robert does all the editing and assembling of each and every episode, not just for this show, but also for our travel podcast, been there doing that, as well as editing and assembling many of our clients' podcast episodes as well. Now, the art and formatting to go onto the website, I love doing, quite frankly, but I won't, and I don't. Brandy does it. Why? Because she does a fine job, even a better job than I could do, and she enjoys the task, and I must focus my time on other things that only I can do. Then, the distributing of the podcast on all the socials. Now, I have neutral feelings about that task. I don't necessarily love it, nor do I necessarily dislike it either. But Sharon and Brandy on the team take care of all those tasks for me, mainly because I know it'll get done. If it were left up to me, I'd forget it, I'd procrastinate, and it'd never get up on all the socials like it needed to. So my team helps me stay consistent. But when I first started the podcast, I didn't feel like I could delegate anything about it. Well, wait a second. Let me take that back. Some of the editing, I know the general gist of kind of how to do it, but Robert has always handled that part of it because he's just better at Adobe Audition than I am. And he hears things, being a musician and all of that. He hears things that I just don't. But what I needed to do was create a process, create the steps that's involved in doing a podcast production and how I wanted it and how I wanted it scheduled and everything. Then I could delegate bits and pieces of the process. But what happens when you begin delegating, you begin to hold yourself more accountable, which is a cool thing. And that accountability helps you stay consistent. You must accomplish a certain amount of things before your team can help you make the system work. And what's kind of cool is that your team is there to kind of remind you, hey, I need this. Is this ready yet? And there's some communication back and forth so that the job gets done. Robert can't do the editing. Brandy can't publish on Libsyn and the website, and Sharon and Brandy can't share on all the socials without me first recording. So I have to hold myself accountable, but they help me with that accountability. They can't fulfill their jobs and have the consistency that I want without me first recording. And I didn't know exactly how I wanted things done until I first did it myself, until I first came up with the steps in the strategy. Over the last several years, working with a variety of clients, I wanted to figure out why some relationships were long-term and successful and some were short-term and kind of rocky. I struggled with how my role should be with some clients. And I recognized that my role for many of my clients or would-be clients, I became more of a sounding board, or maybe perhaps a better term would be a coach or even cheerleader, whatever that term would be. But I ended up helping my clients by teaching them how to use some of the same tools that I use, how to use MailChimp or Constant Contact, and how that connected with website and how you can collect email addresses and how you would publicize a blog, even helping with ghostwriting on some things. And I help them develop strategies to create systems. And at first, because they needed to get a grasp around how to do and how things intermixed with each other and actually see the system working, they wanted to do it themselves. But see, just the fact that the system got into place, that helped leverage their time. And if they wanted to delegate to a virtual assistant or a niece, a nephew, somebody, they were more organized in their thoughts in knowing exactly what they wanted to delegate and establishing expectations in the relationship to whom they delegated to. To sum it up, I found myself teaching coaches and speakers and other online entrepreneurs how to lead virtual teams. To lead virtual teams, you need processes for them to fall into. Communication is a really, really big deal when you bring on any team member, whether they're virtual or whether they're in person. So I ended up, most of my clients were coming to me really fired up. They had gone to a seminar or they just got through an online course and they were fired up because they wanted to do all the things. They wanted to implement, let's say they wanted to do an online membership community. And they're fired up to do it. But they're so overwhelmed in all the process. I've had some that want to work online and they don't even have a process started yet or a website even. And this is not to say anything bad about them. They've got the enthusiasm, but they need to be reeled in on the organization to really create strategies, implement processes so that long term they can see results. You've heard me say it before that consistency matters. It really does. And in the online world, we must have a core piece of content. Mine happens to be this podcast. But when you've never done something like a podcast before, or creating consistent content, I think that you get kind of lost and frustrated because there's not immediate, I'll just say it, there's not immediate payment on it. Most of my clients have come out of a job scenario, like me, a corporate job where you get paid every 2 weeks. But you see, working for somebody else, they already have those systems in place. But when you move to do your own thing, you don't have your systems. You figure out what can you do well to help others. And then in order to leverage your time, you've got to create systems. But then there's so many tools out there. It's like, holy cow, I've got to do some things that I don't necessarily love to do, but I've got to learn them so that I can understand them enough to where in the future, when I can delegate it, I have a better feel of how things should be run or how I should manage the process, what the results should be. Now, over the years of owning Scrivener Solutions, it's been about 7 years ago, I created Scrivener Solutions where I could just work behind the scenes, helping online entrepreneurs leverage their time, earn more money, and scale their companies. But over time, I've learned so much. My VA business has become a true team effort where the Scrivener Solutions team really do make the magic of time leveraging happen for our clients. I love that. But my role has shifted where nowadays I'm helping in a different way. Although I serve as the project manager for Scrivener Solutions, I find myself coaching solopreneurs and helping them develop and implement the strategies they need to create the systems in their businesses to achieve their big goals. You can sum it up as I teach you how to lead a virtual team. I believe that we can find our dream team. I know I have. And we are going to grow and evolve and create many opportunities for so many people because details do matter. They really do. And when you're growing a business, you cannot address every single detail that is needed to keep you going. You have to shift your focus and let others know your overall plan and represent you in getting the details that do truly matter to capable hands and getting you out of your own way so that you're not doing everything in your business. I love filling that role because sometimes I have folks that I coach or mentor and help them create their process, and they may not necessarily delegate to Scrivener Solutions. That's okay. They have the tools, the confidence to either do that process themselves until they're ready to hire a virtual assistant or hire an executive assistant right there in their office, whatever that may be. I like being their sounding board so that they can process and make whatever online course that they've gone to, whatever seminar, that they are able to actually implement the things that they've learned to really grow and impact their business and their life. I am so excited to fill that role. And I never dreamed that 7 years ago, when I started Scrivener Solutions, that this is where I'd be. And I believe that starting this podcast has helped me figure out some things on my own. I've also been able to communicate a little better, I'd hope anyway, on how I can serve and help. And there is a lot of work involved in producing a podcast. And I'm not going to lie about that. There is some amount of expense, yes. And you don't get paid for it, well, not directly and immediate. Now, I do have to say, podcast production is one of the things that we do at Scrivener Solutions. So if you want to be technical about it, yeah, I do get paid for podcast production, but not directly on my own podcast. But it's my belief that my podcast has helped me grow my business, and it will continue to help me grow as a person as I continue on my path of a weekly show. And I believe that this business will continue to evolve and grow. It will help in ways that they need to be helped. And for any of us, whether you're a coach, a consultant, a speaker, an online educator, a solopreneur, however you're growing your personal brand and choosing your core piece of content, should it be blogging or podcasting or video production, picking one of those and sticking with it consistently does and will make a huge difference. A huge difference. Why? Because you're not only helping those who follow you, you are going through a self-discovery process to figure out how you may become a better communicator, hone down your message, get practice and confidence in how you'll serve your audience. Over time, it's just by doing gains you confidence. I didn't know what the heck I was doing at first. And in fact, I didn't even want to start it. It wasn't until, well, let me tell you, I did want to start a podcast, but I was afraid to, and I kept putting it off. And it wasn't until I was at a Ray Edwards conference and sat next to Cliff Ravenscraft. And he used to be the podcast man, but now he's shifted his personal brand. But at the time he was sitting next to me and he was just like, man, get over yourself. Here, all you need is your iPhone. And he just recorded with me right there at the table. And he's like, basically shook me out of the get over yourself and just start it and do it consistently. It will make a difference. And he was right. He was right. I believe that we live in a wonderful, wonderful time. And we have so many opportunities in helping people both near us and people that are far away. And I believe that we have it all in us to create a lifestyle we truly desire and that we can be happy with. But it doesn't go without the work. The process isn't always quick and easy, especially at the beginning. And you're not going to be doing things that you may love because it's going to be uncomfortable. What I truly believe is the phrase, do what you love and delegate the rest, is a myth. But I know and I have confidence that you can experience and grow from creating processes and learning from others and being able to identify the things that you can delegate, that you're not giving away to do. And even if you like that particular piece of the process, should you be baking the cookies all the time, even though you love it? No. Sometimes you got to delegate, I don't know, what you like to do because you can leverage your time so that you can accomplish more. 3 major things that I had learned by doing my podcast on a consistent basis is that I did the episodes even though from week to week I may not want to. I buckled down and I made that decision that I am going to be consistent because I am going to be here. I'm not going anywhere. Too many times when we're first starting out, people are apprehensive in doing work with us because they think that we're going to move on to something else. They'll have to find somebody else to help them out. Being able to establish a company that establishes that trust that we're not going anywhere. So doing that means producing content even though I may not want to, because it's easier not to. It's easier to procrastinate. It's easier to say, maybe next time, maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow. The number 2 thing that I learned by doing this podcast is that even when life happens, because life does happen, and I do happen to miss, just pick it up and continue. Just keep on going. Don't think that, I missed one. Well, then I'll miss another one. I'll miss another one. Just pick up and continue. So if you've started something and stopped it, instead of feeling bad about it, just pick it up and let's move on. And the third thing that I learned with my podcast is that creating content on a consistent basis kind of shifts your whole thing in becoming a leader and a role model. And the very first day that you create your business, even if you're a business of one, you must be a leader and a role model. I'm going to wrap it up for today. I am super glad that you were here with me on my 100th episode. I'm celebrating in the background in a couple of days. We're going to have this cool giveaway. I'll announce the winner on social and get in touch with the winner via direct message. And we're just going to do cool things. And in the next episodes, I'm going to be leaning into talking more about being a virtual leader, being a leader of virtual teams, getting your processes down so that you can see significant growth. You can hold yourself accountable on actually fulfilling your goals that you want to achieve, the things that you've learned in seminars or an online class, but you just don't get the tech or how everything fits together. Well, maybe you need that accountability buddy, that coach to help you hold you accountable before you hire that virtual assistant. Then when you have your processes in place, you have somebody that's going to be with you more long-term, that gets to know you and your business, and that can stand behind you as your cheerleader. And you will find your dream team. You will be that leader in your business. And you can leverage your time and accomplish more. I'm glad you're here today. And if you haven't yet, I would be very honored if you'd subscribe, whether it be in iTunes or Stitcher, Google Play. I'm not sure if we're on Spotify or not, but it'd be really cool if you'd subscribe. I'd certainly appreciate it. Until next time, have a fantastic week.